Hey, what's up? It's your boy Rawk.
The war will never truly end. The suffering shall never be over. Many remain relatively unscathed, sure, but many more have been folded, others flattened. Only one thing is definite in this war.
I fucking suck at origami.
The Paper Mario series has been through a lot, and by extension, its fans have been through a lot. The first two games are held in the highest regards by many a fan, the shining examples of how paper-based RPGs are done. The third game, Super Paper Mario, was quite a divisive follow-up, being a platformer with RPG elements and an Oscar-worthy story. And then, well, these two games happened, and the community still hasn't recovered from them.
The Paper Mario fanbase was in tatters after the release of the last two games, with many people being strongly against the new ones and in support of the old, and many people firmly on the other side of the fence. It's been impossible to stumble across a civil conversation surrounding the series for what feels like forever at this point, and that's honestly really disappointing. There's been so much discourse surrounding the series that Nintendo must have noticed, right? They must have done something, right?
Paper Mario The Origami King released on July 17th, 2020, and a hell of a lot was riding on this game. Right from the first trailer, we could tell that this game was something different compared to Sticker Star and Color Splash. The tone seemed darker with the music and the creepy fucking Peach. It was really quite ominous. This game seemed to have a story at all, which was very promising, but that was pretty much all there was to discern from the first trailer. Later, Nintendo would reveal the more open structure of the game, as well as the bosses and the return of partners. Kind of. That was it in terms of a build up to release. The game was revealed in May and released 2 months later. But hey, I'm not complaining about this. The sudden reveal and quick release led to only a few weeks of actively giving a shit, which I much prefer to a year and a half. Jesus Christ, Animal Crossing! The previous two games certainly ruffled a few feathers. They were generic, stripped down shadows of the previous heights of the series. But Origami King seemed to be changing that.
After how controversial Sticker Star and Color Splash were, I had high hopes for this game, and after beating it, I can officially say that this game is fan-fucking-tastic.
Now, before we get into the story of the game, yes, I am more than aware of the infamous interviews that were circulating around the game's release, wherein director Kensuke Tanabe said some pretty worrying things about the game. What he discussed included, but was far from limited to, the fact that his team had strict creative restraints put on them during the creation process of the game. Many fans were outraged by these interviews, and used this to fuel the flames of hatred being lobbed at the game. Look, I'm with you on a lot of that. Being forced to hold back creatively at all is absolutely absurd, but even despite these limitations, we still have a really good plot here, even if it is fairly derivative of the most simple mainline games. I'm going to look at this game without taking those interviews into account, and review it based entirely on its own merits. We open on Paper Mario.
Holy shit!
And Paper Luigi on their way to Toad Town to take part in the almighty Origami Festival, and they're travelling via Luigi's car. I can't help but think that might not be a good idea given his track record. When they arrive, the entire town is inexplicably deserted. The bros roam around every nook and cranny before heading to Peach's castle to investigate. Upon entering the castle, they get locked in, and Luigi, very heroically, decides to run away from the only person that he currently knows is alive and well.
I'm sure he'll be fine. Mario was confronted by an eerie voice. Holy shit, Peach got buff! Hell yeah, this is the most beneficial cult I've ever been a part of!
The whole intro sequence here is incredibly eerie. The music is ominous, and this is all capped off by us watching Bowser and his minions being essentially tortured. The castle dungeon is where we meet our partner for this adventure, Olivia. And man, I love her. but more on that later. Olivia introduces us to the Thousandfold Arms ability, which we use to escape our cell. For the longest time, I thought this move required motion controls, but thankfully you can turn them off. Let it be known though that you can keep them on if you want to keep that sweet, sweet immersion.
Wow, it feels like I'm really punching a tree! I would know!
We save Bowser and we head to the top of the castle. Here we're confronted by Origami Peach and a squad of folded soldiers, and we're introduced to the battle system.
Oh boy, the battle system. The element of the game that's most likely to make people break out into fights. Here, watch. I like the battle system. It's time to die, motherfucker.
The battle system here sees Mario in the middle of a ring, where enemies are positioned around the outside. You're able to manipulate the rings in order to line up enemies however you see fit, and from here you do your attacks. Certain layouts yield better results for different weapons. You see 4 enemies in a straight line, crush their skulls under your feet! You see 4 enemies in a group like this, cave their skulls in with a little more pizzazz! Lining enemies up quote-unquote perfectly increases your attack power, which is a nice incentive to pay attention to these battles and try to figure out the puzzles they present. There's definitely more to say about this system, and trust me, we'll get to that. But for now, I have one very slight gripe. While the whole ring system is incredibly unique and fun, it feels a bit odd. Like, there's no story context for the ring. There's no explanation for it. It's just, you're in a ring. Deal with it, bitch. This is extremely nitpicky, but it would be fun to see this play into the story, or just explain it all, really. Anyway, we defeat our first foes, and we're introduced to our villain, the Origami King.
Shit, I never would have guessed!
Here we have Ollie, the older brother of Olivia, who plans to turn the entire world of paper into origami.
That son of a bitch!
Before you know it, 5 streamers come flying in from the 5 corners of the Mushroom Kingdom, and the castle is ripped from the ground and taken away. This scene is genuinely so cool. The camera is so dynamic and the tension feels genuinely high, to the extent that this feels like a scene from an action film. Something I definitely did not expect from Paper Mario, but something that I am absolutely down for.
You've gone too far now, you evil bastard!
Oh no, fuck! We plummet from the sky into the Whispering Woods, where we gain the ability to collect and regurgitate confetti, which is the main overworld gimmick in this game. You see littered absolutely everywhere in this game are these non-bottomless pits. Great name, guys, really raises the tension. And in order to fill them and progress, we need to... This is incredibly satisfying, man. The way Mario hoovers up all of the confetti on the ground, the sound design when picking up and throwing it, and the way it falls. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, the trees keep whispering to us and we're peer pressured into finding the soul seed, which we give to this old tree, causing him to... well...
How can you dare to not love this game?
The plot from here on out basically consists of us travelling through the 5 different regions of the map in order to knock out the 5 gods of the streamer ends.
But before we get into that, let it be known that Paper Mario the Origami King is more of a Zelda game than Breath of the Wild. That's not a joke.
Throughout the game we stumble across the Developmental Temples, which are literally traditional Zelda dungeons in a Paper Mario game. These things are fairly long, nothing that'll take you hours and hours to beat, but definitely something that'll get you scratching your head every now and then. And at the end of the 4 temples, we fight the 4 Developmentals, elemental beings that can be hard as fuck to defeat. The boss fights in this game work very differently to the regular fights, as instead of us being in the middle of the ring, the boss is, and we have to form a path to them from the tiles available inside the ring. This is an incredibly interesting concept, especially because a lot of the times the panels you need will be locked in a chest, and other times the panels to use special abilities like the Thousandfold Arms need to be activated using a separate panel. I'll be completely honest, this can be annoying sometimes. When you just want to attack the thing and you have to spend a whole turn just to have access to the attack panels, but in my opinion, it adds a lot of strategy to the puzzle portion of the battles, and is a really unique and fun aspect of the game's battle system. We fight 11 main bosses in this format, and they're all pretty damn challenging, especially the later few. They all have their unique gimmicks that relate to their character, so we should probably talk about them all. There's the Earth Developmental, who's a fucking turtle. There's the Water Developmental and Fire Developmental, but don't lie, this is just Articuno and Moltres made out of paper. And the final of the Developmentals is the Ice Developmental, who is basically just paper Beartic.
The designers had creative limitations put on them, so they just stole ideas from Zelda and Pokemon, and they wonder why the community's in fucking shambles.
The 4 Developmentals have their own temples as I mentioned earlier, and beating the temple and the Developmental in question gives you their ability to use both in the overworld and in battles. Now they aren't available to use at your free will, instead, much like with the Thousandfold Arms, They are available at specific points with a specific prompt, but that doesn't matter, because these things are absolutely fucking spectacular to witness. They're so visually stunning, so grandiose, and honestly just a joy to behold, especially the water elemental ability. The water looks so crisp and I want to drink this until I'm way overhydrated. The earth elemental allows you to raise and lower the ground to your will. The water elemental allows you to fill gaps with raging water. The fire elemental allows you to cause forest fires, and the ice elemental allows you to freeze bodies of water. There are absolutely no surprises here, stop dreaming.
No!
The rest of the bosses are linked directly to the rest of the story, each falling at the end of their respective chapter, so let's talk about each because we have some really good shit here. Chapter 1 sees us trying to destroy the red streamer, and to do so, we head to Picnic Road, where we find a group of misfit Koopas who are up in a frenzy because they can't get to their place of worship, the Developmental Temple. We beat the temple and make our way to the Overlook Tower, where we meet the first of many of Ollie's underlings, coloured pencils.
We'll talk about this in a bit, but yes, stationery is the main antagonistic force of this game. Oh boy.
The pencils are missiles, and this is an incredibly fun fight, especially seeing as it's the first main one in the game. The gimmick for this battle is that there are homing missiles aimed for random squares on the board, and running over them will cause them to be launched at you, so you need to be extra strategic as to avoid getting blown to shit. The build up to this fight is also really interesting, as we're stuck in a tower where the only way is up, but the missile pencils have torn holes in anything that dares to be concrete matter. You have to fill the holes in with confetti, but there's also no way of refilling your confetti from within the tower, so every time you chuck a load it feels genuinely tense because the resource is incredibly limited. It's weird to say that about a Mario game. Anyway, we destroy the red streamer and head off to Chapter 2. We make our way to Autumn Mountain on our way to take out the blue streamer, when we come across a new companion. Meet Bob-omb, the amnesiac with a heart of gold that Olivia just refuses to call by his name.
Now officially, his name is Bob-omb, but I refuse to associate with anyone who doesn't call him Bobby. That's 70% of why I love Olivia.
With our new partner in tow, we uncover the Water Elemental Temple in Chestnut Valley, and after beating the temple in Paper Beast, we gain our second elemental ability. We use this ability to bring water back to the river in the most visually gorgeous scenes in the game. It looks so good! And then the realistic water turns into fucking cardboard, and all is right in the world.
If only this happened more often.
We find this toad and use his boat to float downstream towards Shogun Studios theme park. Honestly one of my favourite areas in the game. The place is deserted, and we need to find the master key in order to access the locked central tower, and we obtain it through a trading sequence.
Breath of the Wild ain't got shit on Paper Mario!
The trading sequence leads up to the ninja attraction. It gives off the vibe of traditional Japanese architecture, whilst also feeling like a funhouse, which is incredibly fun to experience. We make our way to the Big Show studio, where we take part in 3 on-stage performances. This game is amazing. We dance with Shy Guys, take part in a shootout outside of a saloon with a whole bunch of enemies, and save Birdo from a gang of Western Koopas in anything but that order. And this all culminates in us facing the Rubber Band. You went through the effort of giving this guy a unique design and then just gave up. The board gimmick in this battle is the rubber bands on the board that will launch you in the direction they're facing, which can either work to your advantage or be a detriment. This is another pretty fun fight, especially seeing as it ends with this! We destroy the blue streamer and celebrate our victory with a fireworks display, which makes Bobby slightly less of an amnesiac. We head further down the stream to search for the yellow streamer, and we reach Sweet Paper Valley.
That hair switch could kill someone! Be careful with that! Huh. Well, I'd love to stay in chat, but I need to go present my pitch for the new name of this game to Nintendo. See you later. Okay, hear me out. Paper Mario, Olivia fucking dies.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Bobby remembers something that could help us save Olivia, so we head to the sea because, sure, bombs can swim. Nah, apparently one of the toads we saved back on Autumn Mountain was a sea captain. Remember him?
No.
We take his boat, and we make our way to the Great Sea. We find a boat called the Princess Peach. Oh boy, I wonder who that belongs to. We board the ship, and after restoring its power and saving its crew, we head to a suite that previously belonged to Bobby. The item Bobby is searching for is here in a locked box, and all we need to do is Koopa Blooper from Super Mario Sunshine appears and just ruins our day, and a boss battle ensues. This is no ordinary Koopa Blooper though. No, this is Paper Mario, of course it isn't! This is Paper Macho Koopa Blooper, a new enemy type in Origami King. And hey, we might as well talk about this now. Naturally designed around paper mache, these enemies appear in the overworld, and we fight them in a very different way to other enemies, as they're real-time battles as opposed to turn-based battles. These guys are around 4 gallons bigger than the standard enemies, and are an incredibly fun change of pace. They all have unique weak spots as indicated by this King Ollie branding.
Let me know if you want to hit me up with a sponsor, Ollie. I'd do anything to fund my addiction to plastic and discs.
Blooper Boy over here is very different to the other macho men, as he is a legitimate boss fight with some incredibly unique attack patterns that are just a joy to never get hit by because I'm better than that, damn it. We destroy Koopa Blooper, grab our box, and head back to save Olivia.
Up until this point, you were probably living contently, believing that this game wasn't going to make you cry, but nope, rev up those tear ducts because we're in for one hell of a ride. Now, I know I've already warned for spoilers, but seriously, this is one of the most pertinent moments in the game, and if you still want it to have the same impact for you, this is prime time for you to piss out. I'll see you on the flip side.
When we arrive back at Sweet Paper Canyon, Bobby tells us of his backstory. He was once aboard the Princess Peach with a group of friends when Koopa Blooper struck the ship. The beast sent Bobby overboard and knocked his fuse off him, whilst presumably killing the rest of his friends. He woke up with no memories at the Toad Town dock, and he set off on a journey to try and remember anything. The firework display at Shogun Studios made Bobby remember the purpose of a bob-on. Blowing the fuck up.
No! No! Okay, how about Bobby fucking dies?
Security!
Okay, I'm going.
This was not something I ever expected from a Paper Mario game. Hell, any Mario game. The fact that they straight up killed off a major character is such an interesting concept to delve into in a Paper Mario game. It was so out of left field and genuinely had me in tears. I absolutely loved Bobby, and to see him canonically die is something very, very unique. Olivia awakens and realises what has happened, and she runs away into a nearby cave, tears in her eyes. It's up to us to find her, and when we do so, we're greeted to this heartbreaker of a scene.
My heart can't take much more of this.
Thankfully, the ghost of Bobby tells us to make her laugh, and we wear this silly fucking Goomba mask, and we manage to cheer her up.
Welcome back, happiness, it's been too long! Woo!
So, we reach the conclusion that Mario was too fucking slow, so we hire this car, and we head off to scorching sandpaper desert. We look up to the sky and see the anti-sun, and we need to figure out how to return light to the desert. We find these giant toad dildos sticking out of the sand, but we can't read the hieroglyphs, so we try to look for any sign of intelligent life.
Keep looking.
We head to the hotel in Sniff City and learn of a guest named Professor Toad, who has been dedicating his entire life to researching the legend of Captain Teowed.
Is that... Never mind.
We f*** up this giant pokey that straight up ate him. I don't think payback equates to a lot of caloric intake, but f*** it, to each their own. With our new partner in tow, we head to the Developmental Temple and defeat mole trays. We set fires inside of each of the toad dildos with Olivia's new ability, and we unleash the Temple of Shrooms. We explore the temple and find a bunch of toads without faces, which scores a hearty yikes and a half from me. They're being held captive in this sick disco hall. Honestly, there's worse places to be held captive. We find some music that a wonderfully welcoming, ominous voice demands that we find. And after a dance sequence that wouldn't be out of place in a Ubisoft E3 conference, we meet the Hole Punch. We absolutely obliterate the concept of tables being unturned, as we punch a hole in him, haha! We destroy the yellow streamer, the toads get their faces back, good for them, and we head to the newly opened sun altar. We find the elusive Captain Teowed, who for the sake of simplicity I'm just going to call Captain Buttfuck, being preserved in a block of ice. This won't stand. He runs away from us, which is totally fair. Professor Toad decides he'd prefer to stay in the desert because man oh man, those heat strokes are just too alluring. When we return to Toad Town, we find Captain Buttfuck at the museum, and he's throwing a fit about the submarine that they have on display. Apparently it's the Submarino. I absolutely love the naming scheme this game has gone for, and it belonged to our good friend Buttfuck. He takes it back, and we all head out to the Great Sea because we're just the best of friends. The sea is covered in fog, so we head to the Skull Island to rid us of it, and...
Oh god. We could never escape it. Oh, Jesus Christ!
We explore the different islands of the sea, which is another really cool sequence for a Paper Mario game. On one of the islands, we find the Origami Craftsman. He explains that he was the one who created Ollie, but when he did, he used the forbidden fold of life, causing his creation to come alive. Ollie was originally created as a decoration for the Origami Festival, but he turned against his creator and sought to fold the whole kingdom in his stead. He learned the way of the fold of life, and created Olivia to rule alongside him. We learn that Ollie intends to turn the entirety of the Mushroom Kingdom into origami, and with more determination than ever, we head off to stop him.
Remember when I said that this game was more of a Zelda game than Breath of the Wild? Well, this all culminates in this area of the game.
At the foot of the mountain where the Ice Developmental dwells, we find 3 trials we must complete. The Trial of Courage, the Trial of Wisdom, and the Trial of Power. Ring a bell? After beating Paper Beartick and gaining his ability, we use the power of all 4 of the Developmentals to access and complete the trials, and each of them tests our strength, reactions, and sheer will.
Breath of the Wild ain't got shit on Origami King!
We find a tower on one of the islands, and after retrieving the orbs from the 3 trials, we head to the boss of the Great Sea. Tape. I really need to stop with the dramatic reveals with these bosses. We break the holder and remove all of the tape, which is the equivalent of removing its skin. Yum! We solve another puzzle using all of our Developmental abilities and head up to take out the last streamer in a giant beam of light. We arrive in the Shangri Spa and yeah, that sure is Bowser's castle. We meet up with Kamek, and it tells us about just how the fuck this happened. After our misadventures at Peach's castle, Bowser and Shy Guy headed back to Bowser's castle, only to discover that, the castle's been overrun by folded soldiers. Kamek decides...
Fuck it.
And kills the engine of the ship, causing the castle to come crashing down onto the spa. These angelic toads were pissed about this, so they decided to revive slavery and force Bowser's minions to work for them until the repairs are paid for in full. Anyway, Shangri Spa. I love this place. It's so tranquil and has such a neat design. I'd say overall I don't like it as much as Shogun Studios, but it's a damn close second. Kamek takes us for a tour and tells us about this bastard impersonating Thor and keeping us out of Bowser's castle. But don't worry guys, Junior's here to save the day!
Bowser Jr. fucking dies. Okay!
Kamek scoops up the many shreds of Junior, and we have to head to all of the hot springs in the spa to heal him all the way back up. On our way to the last spring, we hit many forks in the road and have to choose between trusting our blindly supportive adorable partner or one of our longtime enemies, and Olivia is wrong every fucking time, and yet I trusted her blindly!
A pussy. That's me.
We climb up this tree and we almost join the long list of people who fucking die on this game on this cliff. And then, well...
Hell yeah, I've always wanted to finish last!
We get to play in a game show, something of a tradition for the series from what I can tell, and this one is incredibly fun. We win because we're goddamn champions, fix up Bowser Jr. what good, and make our way back to Bowser's castle. We take out the thunder fuck blocking our way, and we head to the castle entrance. Kamek calls all of the minions to our side, and as our army forms, we head into the castle. This is honestly one of the coolest parts of the game for me, in all honesty. I just love seeing the 2 different visual styles of Mario enemy brawling. This scene feels very epic to me, and it gets me unbelievably excited for Paper Mario Warriors.
Well, shit. The most terrifying thing in the entire game is Luigi in Bowser's castle. How the fuck did you get in there?
Oh yeah, there's also these creepy fucking cutout people who make me feel way more uneasy than they have any right to. In order to get Olivia back, we must beat these bitches down by playing rock, paper, scissors.
Please excuse me, I've made an unforgivable mistake. We play Stony Sheety Cuddy. Feel free to take my freedom of speech as I clearly don't deserve it.
We take down the Handacondra and open the elusive door, but not before noticing the same scissors that sliced up Bowser Jr. went to town on everyone else in the castle, including Kamek. What unfortune! Is it any surprise that the boss here is the scissors? And man, can I say, fuck this boss fight. I didn't really struggle with any of the others, but this one? Nothing makes me want to retreat to the Switch home menu more than losing to this boss. So we kill this son of a bitch, which feels so good! We save Bowser and head into the best part of the entire game.
Is about to go down.
This is incredible. We get to fly Bowser's airship while shooting down all of the enemy ships. It's amazing. Such a fun and unique way to build up to the final leg of the game.
Damn it!
I mean, they had it coming. We crash into the side of a mountain, and we are greeted by the best chase sequence in the entirety of the Paper Mario series. This sequence is so intense. Kamek and Bowser Jr. both sacrifice themselves all in the name of us being able to save Bowser, and holy shit, this game really knows how to get the old adrenaline pumping. We reach Bowser and use what's left of his ship to fire ourselves out of a cannon up to the entrance of Peach's castle. And it's locked.
What a cockblock! And hey, speaking of... never change, bitch!
Throughout the game, Luigi has been searching for the key that we need to unlock the castle doors, and every time he thinks he's found it, he humiliates himself. This is what I like to call the culmination of said humility, as he flies in, cries about being a failure, and ends up having the key in his car's exhaust. Good job! And then he joins us in the castle and fucks out immediately. We meet with Origami Peach and... well... Ollie transforms Peach's castle into an origami obstacle course, and we have to manipulate the paper pathways to reach him. The origami castle is amazing. All of the puzzles you have to solve are incredibly unique and interesting, and it all culminates in... oh, for fuck's sake. Yup, this wouldn't be Paper Mario the Origami King's final sequence without a fight against stationery, and much like the scissors before it, I fucking hate the stapler boss fight, thank you very much. He staples you to the ground and it just hurts my feelings. But, nevertheless, we beat him, and all of the staples throughout the world are destroyed, meaning...
it's about fucking time! I missed you, you antagonistic prick!
It's so cool to have Bowser on our side. I know this isn't a first for the Paper Mario series, hell, it's not a first for the Mario series in general, but man, I don't care, I love Bowser, and to finally have him restored to his non-folded glory is amazing. We head in to confront Ollie, and what the hell is going on here?
Hey, welcome to a recurring segment entitled, What the hell is wrong with this? Yeah, checks out.
That is a lot of origami cranes, and that is a lot of Princess Peach wallpaper. Ollie reveals that he is attempting to utilise the ability of the 1000-fold cranes, wherein one must...
take a shot in the dark!
In order to be granted any wish. What's Ollie's wish? Well, he has a fucking vendetta against the Toads, so he wants to rid the world of all of them. His reasoning is that the Toad who created him scribbled all over his paper, that swine. He has folded 999 of the necessary cranes, and plans on folding the last one out of us.
Wait, but which of us are you gonna use?
Here we have it, the final boss, which consists of 3 phases. The first phase is a Pokemon battle. Ollie transforms into one of the 4 elementals, transform into the one that directly counters him, rinse and repeat until his health is knocked out. Phase 2 is where the fight starts to get really interesting, as Ollie transforms himself into this adorable toy dinosaur looking form. So Bowser follows suit and the two give each other a beastly bout of nuggies and raspberries. This is nothing more than a dramatised cat fight, but I absolutely love it. Here we simply assist Bowser by sending shockwaves in Ollie's direction until he loses his balance and falls to his anti-death. In the final phase, Ollie transforms into the most powerful and quite frankly intimidating form yet, and Olivia summons an almighty magic circle, but before you can use it, Ollie jumbles it up. What unfortune! We have to rearrange the picture, and we're only given a matter of seconds to do so before Ollie tries to bitch slap us into the grave. After finally rearranging the puzzle, Olivia transforms into a giant hammer and straight up Mufasa's Ollie. ending an amazing fight. I genuinely loved this battle. Sure, the puzzle portion was slightly questionable, but it didn't at all detract from the overall experience. Ollie is defeated and asks Olivia to read what has been scribbled into his body as a final act of humility, and Olivia reveals that it was a kind message wishing him luck as a new king. That's kinda bullshit.
So the entirety of the game happened because Ollie was too fucking stubborn to ask what was written on him? Why is the game trying to make me feel bad for this arsehole?
He asks that Olivia uses his body to fold the last crane and rid the world of his creations. But Olivia doesn't know how to fold cranes.
Imagine how fucked we would be without Luigi in this game.
The origami craftsman teaches Olivia how to fold the crane, and she wishes to undo all of her brother's creations. This is such a pertinent moment. The fact that Olivia sacrifices herself, potentially unknowingly, simply to reverse the effects of her brother's negligence is so powerful, and says a lot about her character. And with that, the Origami Festival is finally concluded, and all of Toad Town send paper lanterns into the sky.
And that was pretty much Paper Mario the Origami King. I don't think I need to say it at this point, but I absolutely loved this game. The story, the characters, I loved it all so much. It's honestly one of the best games I've ever played. But you know how we roll around here. I love bitching about the way games stimulate my eye and ear holes, so let's quickly wrap this up with my thoughts on the presentation, as well as a few other things.
The presentation of this game is absolutely phenomenal. The paper aesthetic is fully brought to life here. The worlds are vast, open, and so interesting visually, and this is immensely aided by the fact that everything is very visibly made of paper. It's so charming, and when the design of the locals and the chosen thematic identity of a game work in tandem so brilliantly, it's impossible for me to not have a big stupid grin on my face whenever I'm looking at this game's vistas. Something I don't see people mention much is the interesting dynamic going on between the regular enemies and the origami soldiers. The contrast between both forms of characters is super engaging for me. I personally love how the enemies are distinguished from the regular cast by their own unique art style, and going back and looking at the older games where Mario and his enemies share an art style, it isn't nearly as engaging as what Origami King has going on. This game's soundtrack is also impeccable. The battle theme is an absolute bop, and hearing all of the variations of it throughout the game was an absolute treat. There genuinely isn't a single track in the game that I don't love. All of the music is so fitting for where it's found in the game, helping heighten certain emotions or make certain scenes more potent, but it also works incredibly outside of the game, and I honestly listen to the soundtrack very frequently. Final and sorted thoughts here. If I had to complain about any element of the game, it would be that coins feel a little bit pointless. You gain them from battles to use in battles. You can use them to help you solve the puzzles before the attack stage of each battle, and you can use them to buy items that can be used exclusively within battles. It's not a massive deal, there are some other things to buy with coins, but the game absolutely showers you in them to the extent that they don't really hold much value. I'm also not a fan of all the major bosses being stationary, but I feel like that was fairly obvious. It works to break the immersion that the beautiful world sets up, and I know that was entirely intentional, which is a whole other can of worms, but still. If they didn't all have such unique personalities, I'd be singing a different tune. But I can't help but wish these same personalities were slapped onto some more creatively satisfying characters. And now, to counteract my tiny bit of negativity, I'll end with this. I absolutely adore the partners in this game. Kamek and Bowser Jr. are so fun. They've always made for an interesting pair, and having them alongside Mario and Olivia leads to some goddamn funny moments. I already mentioned that having Bowser alongside us is an absolute treat. Professor Toad is a ball of intellect and anxiety, and the chemistry between him and Olivia leads to even more funny moments that genuinely had me laughing out loud. Bobby was such an interesting and funny character. Him being an amnesiac set up so many jokes which were thoroughly delivered upon. And Olivia. Oh my god, Olivia! She's so naive and timid, but also bursting with charm and wonder. She allows us to see the game's world through the eyes of a child with a constant curiosity. She's hands down the most charming character, and there are times in the game where she brings about genuine, heartfelt scenes that are so emotional. She's my absolute favourite character in the game. I wish I saw more people talking about her. She reminds me a lot of Isabelle from Animal Crossing, and I genuinely hope that Olivia gets the same sort of following that Isabelle did after her debut.
You'll be happy to know that I'm finally going to shut the fuck up about this game. Now, I don't do review scores, but on a scale of Paper Mario Sticker Star to Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, I'd say this game is definitely Paper Mario the Origami King. You know, I should really play the other Paper Mario games. I don't actually own any of them. Let's see how much the original two are going for. It was worth it!